Ms. Solomon, I want to be sure I understand your testimony. Did I understand you to testify that anti-Semitism is worse under the Trump administration?
Senator, thank you for your question.
You don't have to thank me. Okay. Your best thanks is to answer.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you that anti-Semitism has been rising, especially since the 2017
but has the Trump
Charlottesville
administration
attack.
caused that? Is that your testimony?
All right, guys, buckle in. Today's story takes us right into the heart of a Senate firestorm where tempers flared and truths collided. The focus, Ilhan Omar's growing impact on America's cultural and political pulse. Senator John Kennedy led the charge, tearing into witnesses over the surge of anti-Semitism sweeping college campuses. What followed wasn't just political theater. It was a moral standoff. Kennedy's questions cut like steel, demanding answers and accountability. While Omar's shadow loomed large in every exchange, a silent presence shaping the tone, tension, and urgency of the entire debate.
Say the Trump administration has caused anti-Semitism. Has there been an increase since Trump has entered office? Yes.
Do you see a causal connection there?
Yes.
Why?
Trump has highlighted and platformed neo-Nazis and white supremacists.
Okay. So you think one way to stop anti-Semitism is to give people more money? Is that right?
I think one of the ways is to actually fund people that are actually designed to investigate anti-Semitism on college campuses.
What's there to investigate? We see it.
We saw
it. Did you watch television? Did you see what happened at Columbia?
Kennedy leaned forward, his voice slicing through the tension. Did the Trump administration cause this? He demanded. The witness stumbled, dancing between correlation and causation, insisting that extremist rhetoric had merely found a louder stage. Kennedy didn't buy it. So, the solution, he fired back, is to give people more money. The chamber bristled. This wasn't just about policy. It was a war of ideology. And though Ilhan Omar wasn't in the room, her presence lingered like an unspoken weight. Her comments on Israel, her divisive speeches, her unflinching tone, all of it hovered over the exchange, shaping the stakes and the fury in every word.
I understood you to say that in answer to Senator Durbin's question, the spending reductions, reducing the federal budget would increase anti-Semitism. Isn't that what you said?
No, I did not. I said that the constant threats to cut money to the Office for Civil Rights and the Department of Education prevents the federal government from adequately investigating anti-Semitism and other hate crimes on college campuses.
So you think one way to stop anti-Semitism is to give people more money?
By this point, the hearing had shed any pretense of policy discussion. It had become a clash over America's cultural identity. Kennedy's frustration boiled over as he cited Columbia, Berkeley, UCLA, campuses where pro-Palestinian protests had spiraled into chaos. What's there to investigate? He barked. We see it. It's right there on TV. The witness attempted to steer the focus back to funding, but Kennedy wouldn't yield. Beneath every exchange, Ilhan Omar's presence pulsed like static. Her framing of the Palestinian struggle, her unapologetic critiques of Israel, the silent current feeding the senator's outrage and the nation's divide.
I think one of the ways is to actually fund people that are actually designed to investigate anti-Semitism on college campuses.
What's there to investigate? We see it.
We saw it.
Did you watch television? Did you see what happened at Columbia?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it was clear to me that the administration at Columbia and most members of the faculty believe passionately in diversity, equity, inclusion, and the right to hurt Jews.
The hearing hit its boiling point when Kennedy leaned forward and declared, "What I saw on those screens wasn't protest. It was the right to hurt Jews." The words landed heavy, cutting through the chamber's noise like a thunderclap. His tone wasn't performance. It was raw, visceral anger. And in that instant, the shadow of Ilhan Omar loomed larger than ever. To her critics, she's the spark that legitimized hostility under the guise of equity. To her defenders, she's the lone voice daring to speak uncomfortable truths. But Kennedy's outburst crystallized something deeper, a growing revolt against what he calls moral relativism wrapped in the language of progress.
That's what I saw. Isn't that what you saw?
I saw.
Isn't that what you saw?
I saw protesters against the war in Gaza and them using some anti-Semitic slogans and thoughts. I would say, however, that it's hard.
But
I would say,
isn't that what you're telling me? That's not what you saw. Now, don't get off the subject on me now. You're telling me that's not what you saw.
I'm telling you that it is difficult for the federal government to adequately address the issue of anti-Semitism.
Are you telling me the Columbia administration and the faculty was supportive of the Jews?
Then the hearing took a sharp turn as Senator Kennedy unleashed one of his most searing charges yet, accusing America's top universities of teaching kids to be anti-Semitic. His words hit like a gavel, filled with the conviction of a man who believes moral decay is now masquerading as enlightenment. What began as frustration evolved into a stern warning when ideology overshadows accountability. Classrooms risk becoming breeding grounds for hate disguised as activism. Too many watching. It felt less like a critique of academia and more like a reckoning, a cultural call-out aimed squarely at a generation. Molded by figures like Ilhan Omar, Kennedy argued that in their zeal to champion Palestinian rights, many have blurred the line between political advocacy and prejudice. His tone was fierce, his message unmistakable. America's institutions, once trusted to nurture truth and integrity, are drifting dangerously toward performative outrage, losing sight of moral responsibility in the fog of fashionable rebellion.
I think that they are
trying to
You need to
stop dipping into your ketamine stash.
Into what? Excuse me?
Now, if we're going to solve this problem, we need to talk about it. And it wasn't just at Columbia. It was at Berkeley. It was at UCLA. It was at Barnard. And Columbia has a history of discriminating against Jewish people. They used to refuse to let Jewish students come to their university.
When Kennedy turned to the next witness, his tone softened, but only slightly. Beneath that calm lay the same blade of conviction as he asked, "Is it possible to feel compassion for Palestinians without hating Jews?" It was more than a question. It was a challenge to the moral logic underpinning Ilhan Omar's worldview. For years, she's argued that one can condemn a government's actions without condemning its people. Distinction. That sounds clear in theory, but often collapses under political. He thought this hearing laid bare how fragile that distinction truly is. In the crossfire of ideology and emotion, the boundaries between empathy and enmity blur. Words become weapons. Intentions are questioned. What starts as a plea for justice morphs into a struggle for moral territory. And in that struggle, compassion itself becomes suspect, a casualty of the polarized war over who gets to define righteousness in America's most divisive debates.
Now, you can try to bubble wrap this, but that's what I saw. If you want to stop a lot of the anti-Semitism, maybe we need to stop teaching kids to be anti-Semitic.
Sir, I would relish that opportunity.
Let me ask you a question, Ms. Kohab. Did I say that right?
Kohab.
Do you think it's possible to feel compassion for the Palestinian people without hating Jews?
And the tension in the room spiked again when the witness tried to defend Columbia's administration and Kennedy's patience finally snapped. "Are you telling me they supported the Jewish community?" he demanded, his voice slicing through the chamber. When the witness stumbled, Kennedy delivered the line that would define the exchange. "Stop dipping into your kumbaya stash." The remark landed like a thunderclap, cool parts ridicule and indictment, capering the anger of Americans who feel elite institutions have traded moral courage for polished platitudes. To Kennedy, this wasn't just about one university's failure. It was the symptom of a deeper cultural moral paralysis born from the same ideological current he sees in figures like Ilhan Omar under the banner of progressivism. He argued academia had become a refuge for selective outrage where anti-Semitism could hide behind academic rhetoric and performative activism. In his eyes, the very institutions meant to shape future leaders had lost the ability or the will to distinguish between moral conviction and moral confusion.
Absolutely.
Can we elaborate on that? Because it looks to me like many of our Ivy League universities, it's not they weren't the only ones. Some universities handled it well. Vanderbilt, University of Chicago, Tulane. But it looks like the administration was teaching kids you got to pick a side. You either have to hate Jews or you have to be for Hamas. You can't be. There's no middle ground. Tell me what you what you saw. You've written a book.
As the hearing wound down, Kennedy's closing words struck with the force of a gavel. Maybe if we stop teaching kids to be anti-Semitic, we might solve it, he declared. Sharp, unflinching, and impossible to ignore, the room fell into a divided silence, some visibly unsettled, others simmering with anger. It wasn't just a statement. It was an accusation aimed not at a person, but at a culture Kennedy believes has lost its moral compass. And though Ilhan Omar's name was never uttered, her presence lingered in every echo of that exchange. Her ideas, her defiance, her framing of justice and identity, all hovered like a political specter over the room. To her supporters, she embodies courage, forcing America to confront its contradictions. To her critics, she symbolizes the peril of blurred moral lines and incendiary rhetoric. But one truth remains. Ilhan Omar's influence now transcends politics. It defines the battlefield itself, shaping loyalties, testing convictions, and redrawing the moral and ideological borders of an America still struggling to decide who it wants to.